Dan from New Jersey. Welcome to the program, Dan.
Hey, it's your favorite Libertarian.
Well, I got a lot of those.
Want to talk? What's that?
I got a lot of those. But you're on my top 5 list.
We'll keep it on subject today.
Okay.
Not this whole sequester fiscal policy. I mean, everyone talks about UK. Looking back at their 2011 budget cycle when they cut about $40 billion, this austerity, they were promised $3 for every $3 in revenue. They would get $1 in cuts. That whole balanced approach thing. Well, what they really got was the exact opposite. If you look at it, value-added tax increase, tons of tax increases, and certainly something that no one would ever support. But I do see a lot of hysteria here over this whole sequester thing. How it's just going to be the end of the world when no one's going to inspect any meat anymore, and the planes are going to crash into each other. I mean, I think there's a little too much hysteria here.
Well, I don't think the planes are going to crash into each other, but I do think we're going to have longer waits at the airport. I think we're going to have people sitting on the tarmac. I think you can see the implications of what's going to happen in the States. You're going to see 2 million people who've been out of work for more than 6 months. They're going to see unemployment payments drop by 11% in checks in March or April. You're going to see subsidies for energy projects and school construction, state and local infrastructure projects end. You're going to see in states, for instance, in Virginia, Maryland, and the District of Columbia, cumulatively will lose $29 million in elementary and high school funding. It's going to put 390 teachers at risk. You're going to have 2,000 poor children who are going to lose access to early education in that area. You're going to see 150,000 civilian Defense Department personnel go on furlough. They're going to have their pay reduced by 7,500. It goes on and on.
Okay,
I mean,
Sam,
I don't mean to be hysterical about this.
Let me make this. Your point is this is going to have, although you're using the $85 billion estimate, not the 44 from the CBO, this is just going to have such a massive effect on the economy, correct?
Well, I'm going by the CBO numbers, and it's going to shave either anywhere from 0.5 to 1.5 off of our growth this year.
Well, okay, it's going to have such a. There's no question that anytime you do a tax increase or a cut, you will pull money out of the economy, thus pulling aggregate demand. But it's one thing then to say that this is just going to have such a mammoth effect on the economy. Well, not too long ago, I remember you and or at least some of your liberal friends running around saying how the stimulus, 10 times the size of this, had such a marginal impact on the economy. It was too small to have any significant impact near the level needed for, say, employment or economic output. So it's really a little inconsistent to go from something 10 times smaller to say that it's just going to,
I don't know what the 10 times smaller you're talking about, but we missed the output gap by about $500 billion with that stimulus. So yes, the stimulus should have been bigger. It's the exact same principle. When you have anemic growth, when you have an output gap of about $1 trillion now, projected by the CBO over the next 3 or 4 years, you need to fill that.
I know that. I know the argument. I've heard the whole thing.
All right, so refute the argument to me.
Your argument is that there needs to be a bigger stimulus to fill that output gap and address the multiplier more directly. But the point is that 800+ billion change in spending is
well. First of all, the stimulus was not. I mean, it was half of it was tax cuts, or a third of it was tax cuts, and the rest of it was spending. And the tax cuts, yes, they function in some way as government spending. It increases the deficit, but it's not nearly as effective as actual spending. But so what's the point? What is your argument in refutation of what I'm saying?
Hold on a sec. So if, what was it, a half or a third was spending? What did you say?
A third of it was, a good third of it, maybe a little bit more, was tax cuts.
Oh, only a third was tax cuts. So 2/3 of the So let's just say, for argument's sake, 400 to 500 billion. We're still talking 5 to 6 times bigger than this sequester, and that was marginal. But this is such a major. Really, it's 44 billion according to the CBO. It's going to cause Armageddon.
Well, wait a second. I didn't say Armageddon. Maybe you define Armageddon this way, maybe you don't. But I do think that we have a jobs crisis in this country. I do think that we are losing generations of people in terms of the workforce, in terms of science, et cetera, with this sequester, and frankly, as it exists, even without the sequester. So I don't know what your definition of Armageddon is. I'm saying it's going to cut economic growth from anywhere from 0.5% to 1.5%. I haven't heard anybody predict it's going to do any less than that. So what is your point?
My point is that this is constant hysteria, that 0 point... Okay, put in perspective, as I read the Paul...
So wait a second, let me see what you're saying. Okay, so Ed, Dan, your argument is that shaving 0.5% of growth off of the economy, or 1.5%, is just not a big deal. That's the point you're trying to make. Am I right?
It is. There's no question that the short-term effects will be significant, but and there's certainly better ways to go about making this cut. I don't think anyone.
Well, let me ask you something. What happens next year?
This is only a 1-year sequester, I believe.
No,
right?
It's a 10-year sequester.
We could change it.
No, it's a 10-year
sequester set, but we could change it every year.
Okay. All right. So what are you suggesting? That we cut economic growth this year by 0.5% or 1.5%, and then next year we spend more money?
Well, there's a deadline coming up, but can't we change it after that every year?
Well, we could change it now, right? Too, but I don't understand what you're saying.
I know we could change it now. I'm assuming it goes through, I'm saying. But it's just an inconsistency to say, that putting in perspective the numbers.
You're not smoking pot right now, are you, Dan? I'm joking. Listen to me. You've got to tell me, what is your argument? Your argument is you're taking issue with the fact that I'm inconsistent because I wanted a bigger stimulus, and this austerity that we're imposing is not such a big deal. I don't get it. Hold on. Michael thinks he knows what you're saying. Hold on. Hold on for a second. Dan, hold on. Go ahead, Michael.
All right. What he's saying is that you guys, or us liberals, all said that the stimulus wasn't big enough and did not have a big enough impact on the economy. Now, the stimulus is significantly more money than the sequester cuts, and now we're saying that that's going to be disastrous. And he's saying that seems hypocritical and doesn't make sense to him. So that's what he's trying to say.
Is that accurate, Dan?
Does that matter? Mike did a good job of summing up the. My point is, it's inconsistent. So you got to go.
Okay.
One way
Well,
or the other.
let me give you a little analogy here. Okay. We're in a 10-foot. Okay, just hold on. Calm down for a second. We're in a 10-foot deep ditch. Okay. We needed 10 feet of dirt to fill it up. We only got
output gap thing.
Well, I'm explaining to you why what I'm saying is not inconsistent. If you're talking about the tone or whatever it is, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, Dan, I've thought about this a lot, and you're right. The hyperbole is coming in at a unit 5, and it really should be at a unit 3. Is that what you're saying?
Look. What I'm saying is it is inconsistent. But another thing is that this whole austerity picture in Europe is certainly something that I don't know any good luck finding a libertarian who's going to support the kind of tax increases you found in Europe. And here's a case where
I'm not calling for tax increases, but to the extent, I don't even know that we should have any tax increases right now. But for I think a financial transaction tax might be good to do right now. And if we're going to have any tax increases, it should be focused on those people for whom it will not affect their consumption. And that is the rich. Yeah. Yes, the multiplier. So you understand this. So I don't know what your point is beyond, but listen, go back, collect your thoughts, If it's really is that you don't like the consistency of the degree in which people are using hyperbole from my liberal friends, of whom I don't have any friends, then you got to come back with something more interesting than that, because that's a long way to go for that. But I appreciate the call, buddy.